Awesome. Well, welcome back to another episode of AHTV and Friends. I'm your host for the evening, Tim. We had a great show last night. I hope you guys go back and watch it. It was kind of similar to this, but it was the weekend review with Lee and Sally, and they also had Charlie Boy from Brooklyn as the guest, along with Liam and Ray Borum from Liverpool. That was a great episode. And I had the privilege of interviewing a gentleman from New York who writes for West Ham Till I Die. His name is David Hotzig. And we had a special guest co-host, which was Nigel Khan from More Than Just a Podcast. That was a great show. So go back and check those out. But if you are watching on Facebook or Periscope, please head on over to our YouTube channel at some point. You don't have to right now, but at some point, and subscribe to our channel. That'd be really cool if you did that. Real quick, I do have to mention a little commercial here. We do have a lot of merchandise that have been actually selling. Right, ahtv.threadless.com. No, I mean it's nuts. Yes, some of our own designs have been selling, but mainly supporters group logos on stuff. West Ham Philly is leading the charge with most merch sold in our shop. Holy shit! And I think Bayou Ironworks out of Houston is a close second, and Kansas City sold quite a bit. And literally, we just put it in the shop today, and we've already sold, Jesus Christ, 4 shirts and a mug and a sticker for DC Irons. So if you have a supporters group and you'd like to get involved in this partnership, we'd be more than happy to help you out. We split it with you. You know what I mean? That's how it works. And at the same time, we advertise the shit out of it. I don't know if you guys have gotten the spam. Listen, that's all right. So our good boy, Alex, who's the one who runs the shop, he schedules it pretty much like a post an hour. So I do apologize, but you know what? It's working because we're selling a shitload of stuff. So I really appreciate it. And it helps out the supporters groups. So if you buy something from, with the supporters group logo on it, they actually, the supporters group is half of it. So that can help pay for their bar tab for everybody or something. I don't know. Maybe other cool stuff. So anyway, this evening we have
like connection
5
problems
guests with me, and you can't hear me? Can anybody else hear me? Everybody good? Just not, is it? Okay, cool. Yeah. Just hang in there, Neil. I'll get to you.
I'm here.
I promise. All right. So if you can't tell, I guess we'll go counterclockwise then. We have Neil from South Australia, who's always in the chat room. And not only our videos, but other videos as well, like other channels like Hammer's Chat.
Maybe trying 6 is busting the system.
Awesome. And then we have Katie, and then from Philadelphia we
pedal
have,
faster, Tim. Pedal faster.
Jesus Christ. And Charlie from Hammer's Chat. Above him we have David from Alamo City Hammers.
Oh.
And we have John from Philadelphia as well, right next to me. And yeah, I'm Tim. So here we go. We're gonna wing it, and hopefully Neil can hear us. And
hi, Wally.
From time to time. Wally's must be in the chat room. Yes, there we go. Awesome. So listen, anybody have a particular topic you want to start with? I know that there's a few that we might end up discussing, which would be the Wolves match coming up. We also have the Chelsea match that just happened. We also have David Martin. Holy shit, fucking legend already. And, Sir David. I'm sorry. Yes.
Hi, Ray.
The Ginger Buffon.
Oh, we're waiting for Tim. What do we think about Gillingham?
There you go. Same there. We were talking about the FA Cup draw. So, actually, Neil, you spit it. Why don't we start? What do you think about that draw, Neil? Neil.
I've got a feeling we can hear him, but he can't hear us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll type it out in the chat room. Neil,
Yeah.
what do you think about the draw?
Hey, Wally.
Jilling, yep, and draw.
Dude, Ray is helping up. Appreciate it, man.
Neil. All right, well, I'm going to kick him out, and then he'll come back in, and hopefully his connection will be better.
Looking at the comments, what do I think about Gillingham draw? I think it sounds good. Depends what
There you
team
go.
you put out there.
Yeah, true. Okay. Neil. Technical difficulties. Just bear with me real quick. I'll have to kick you out and just come back in.
Oh,
You
yeah.
never know what you're gonna get.
Awesome. So, all right. See you later, Neil. Kick you again. There we go. Kick guest. Voila. Anyway, so Katie, you're next in line. We're going counterclockwise here. What do you think about the Gillingham draw?
I mean, I wasn't surprised. Were
What do you think about our chances? What do you think about our chances against another League One club in a cup?
I mean, it's. I don't expect us to win, honestly, the way we've been playing.
No, that's good. I mean, that's true.
I mean, the team that we saw on Saturday, that was the team we saw at the beginning of the season. If they come out playing like that, then, I definitely think that we have an opportunity. But just the way things have been going recently, I just really don't think we have a chance.
Charlie.
I'm not really scared about the fact they're a League One team, to be honest. I just think that
Charlie.
we don't. I mean, he's probably beneficial for that. I just feel like we don't play well against teams who sit deep. We just can't do it.
Maybe Six is busting the system, Tim.
There's something about it. And I don't know. It doesn't fill me with confidence, but at the same time, if half of our team even turn up a bit, we should be able to beat them quite handily. So it could have been a hell of a lot worse. Let's be real about that.
Yeah. David, what do you think?
I think it'll be a great opportunity for Nathan Holland to prove why he should be replacing that lazy Brazilian so-and-so on our left wing. No, I think we'll win. Yeah, like Charlie said, we don't do very well against teams that sit deep. No, I think we'll nick that one. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does with the team. So
No worries, Tim.
All right. Sorry about that. I was just letting him know that I had a, but I'll bring him back another time. So he'll be in the chat room for sure. Anyway, John, what do you think about this Gillingham draw? What do you think our chances are? What would you like to see?
To me, it is going to be a test of which West Ham we want to be this season. If we want to be the one that shows application, that shows endeavor, that shows a desire to get out there and fight for every ball, then like we did against Chelsea, at least for large parts of that match, I think that it shouldn't be a problem at all. But if we walk in there like we did at Oxford, and we think that we are fabulous Premier League footballers, and we deserve to win a game, we deserve to win a match, then I think we're in trouble again. And it really comes down to mentality. And to me, that's, I know we're not supposed to be talking about Pellegrini, but to me, him saying, I'm trying to instill a big club mentality. Big clubs don't get turned over by League One sides. So I think it's going to be a big test.
I'm just waiting to hear someone say, "Oh, but it's the West Ham way." I'm so sick of hearing that, but I haven't heard that. So thank you guys for not bringing that up. So you guys are right. You all have valid points. I think that we, I don't know, we stand a chance if we bring in another manager, because Manuel Pellegrini is not going to play. I mean, he's not going to start Holland. Dave, as much as I want him to, I've been begging for this, and a lot of other people have as well.
You don't think he's going to play him
happening? I don't, man. He's a stubborn bastard, and you know that, right? We all know he's a stubborn little prick. You know how long it took him to, get Roberto like the fuck out of here?
Yeah, but Roberto's in a different situation, though. I think Roberto, I don't want to say damned if you do it, damned if you don't, but he clearly knows the guy. Like, he's had him before. Like, the director of football knows him, and it's a situation where he should be better than he is. Like, I didn't know anything about him when he came in. Like, I'm not going to act like I did, but from everything I read and from everything I saw about him, he was a competent and at times a very, very good goalkeeper. So you sort of get left with the decision of, do you sacrifice someone in your squad, like sacrifice their morale? Because let's be real, he's not coming back from this. He I don't know how long he'll stay at the club, but he's not coming back from it. Like, Gonzo made a point on one of our videos recently about when goalkeepers lose their confidence, it's very hard for them to come back. Look at Joe Hart. Joe Hart lost it once at City, and he's not been anything near the same since. Jack Butland hasn't been great in about a year and a half, yet we're still linked to him, but that's a separate issue. I think it was harsh, it was difficult. His hand was forced because the media talking point became Roberto isn't good. So he sort of had to do it. But in that sense, it's rough for him. He had to make a really... It frustrated me that he didn't make a decision quicker, but it's like, what was he meant to do? That's like an entire person in his squad who's just been utterly destroyed now. But I don't know. It's just a bit harsh.
Yeah, but I think he was in there too long, don't you? Let's start with this. Actually, you know what? Let's start with Katie. You think Roberto was in there too long?
Yeah, absolutely.
And given too many opportunities?
Yeah. I mean, you have to hold his feet to the fire. And, he just had too many opportunities that he choked on. So, I don't understand why he kept him in as long as he did.
It kind of got embarrassing. I mean, I kind of felt bad for Roberto after a while. I mean, because we already knew he was shit 3 weeks in.
Right.
I mean, after Oxford, yes, he made a few good saves, like a few really good saves, really. I'd say maybe a handful within that whole stretch, which a lot of goalkeepers may not have made. But at the same time, we kept saying, a lot of us over here kept saying that it was because he was in the wrong position to begin with that forced him to make that extra stretch to make that nasty save, or holy shit, when he twists his body and puts his legs out. Well, he shouldn't put it in that position to begin with. But we say that about all goalkeepers, especially over here. I mean, me personally, I fucking hate goalkeepers. So everybody knows that.
What are you talking about? You love Fabianski. I've heard you say it all the time. It's like
recently. Oh no, I mean, I love Martin. Holy shit, man, he's awesome. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think it was enough's enough with that. He was in there too long. What do you think, David?
Absolutely. I saw nothing that gave me any kind of confidence in the guy. I don't think he caught across once, did he? He'd go in there trying to punch every time. The angles were wrong, just bad positional play. You could tell the communication with the defense was terrible too. We were all over the bloody place. I would have dropped the guy a long time before Pellegrini did. It's just too many errors too. It was a mess.
We'll go to Charlie in a minute. Go on this, but John, I mean, what do you think about? I mean, it is their buddy, Hugh Slauson and Pellegrini. So obviously, you give your buddy an extra week or two or something like that. But I mean, come on, 8 fucking weeks.
No, dude, see, that's
madness.
That's the problem. You don't bring your mate in because you can't fire your mate, right?
Yeah.
So it was a shit show from the beginning. I mean, it was a terrible decision to bring in him as your backup goalkeeper when just because you know someone and you say, oh, well, he was fine, 6 years ago. How bad can he be now? I mean, he only got, he was with Malaga, right? They got relegated. I mean, so, how bad can it be? And so to me, I blame Roberto way less for the entire situation than I blame Pellegrini and Husillos, because they're the ones who said, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to pay Adrian 40,000, 50,000 pounds a week, whatever he wants. We're going to let him go. And say what you want about Adrian. He's a very good goalkeeper. Is he an elite Premier League goalkeeper? Probably not. Is he good enough for Liverpool to still win the title when Alisson loses his mind and goes and gets a red card? Yes, he is. And if he's good enough for Liverpool, I kind of feel like he might be good enough for West Ham United. We had that sorted, and I know he wanted first-team football, but instead you got David Sullivan saying, let's save some money, and you got Pellegrini saying, oh, don't worry, I can save some money. I got this buddy of mine down in Spain. So it was the wrong decision. It was from the beginning. So, like Charlie says, Pellegrini was in a position where there was no way he was going to come out of this with any degree of face being saved, because he put himself in a position where the only thing he could do was lose. And once Roberto started getting that confidence cracked, I mean, dude, I look back at Green. Remember when we had Green and he was such a wonderful goalkeeper, finally got that call up to the national team? He lets one ball go in through his hands because he's nervous. It's the World Cup, right? Lets one ball go like through his hands, between his legs. He was never the same goalkeeper after that.
Yeah, but there's a difference between nervous and timid. And he's been playing timid.
I'm not saying Roberto's a good goalkeeper. That's not my argument. Roberto is not a good goalkeeper. He's past it. He is not agile enough for the Premier League. And since he knew he couldn't get the certain balls, he started to hide. And I played goalkeeper, not very well or not very high level, but I played goalkeeper. That's what I grew up playing. So, like, you have to be able to throw yourself into situations with confidence. I mean, with madness, to be honest with you.
Right.
You have to just go in there. Your body, who cares what happens? You go in, that ball is yours. If you have to take out someone, the only person Roberto ever took out was Ogbonna. So that shows you that things are not okay. So I'm probably beating a dead horse, but I obviously it was too long, but it was not Roberto's fault.
Fair enough. Charlie.
I mean, I'd potentially make the argument that Roberto probably was a good goalkeeper at some point. Otherwise, let's be real, he would never have gotten into the Premier League to start with. Like, it's just the way of the world. The reason he knew him and went, Pellegrini would be handed a budget and he's looking at it and divvying it up and say, well, we've got Fabianski, so we probably don't need another first choice goalkeeper, despite what a certain American man keeps saying. So at some point we have to go, okay, well, we'll get some cheap person in who I know I can trust. I think I can trust this guy, but it's that confidence thing. Once the confidence goes for a goalkeeper, it's just done. It's just done because you're constantly under pressure, especially when you're at a club who concede an insane amount of shots. I mean, we won a game 1-0 at the weekend, and look how many shots we conceded then. And not all of them were off target, but I mean, it still happened. So it's just a rough situation. It's just a rough situation, but he's not going to come back into the team unless David Martin has a horrendous 2 months. He's just not going to make it back into the team, unfortunately. And then at some point Fabianski comes back, he instantly goes back in as number one. Trot comes back in the summer. It's done for him, unfortunately. For Roberto, I don't know what's going to happen to him, but yeah, it's a shame because you don't like to see someone fail so spectacularly on such a big stage like that, especially at his age, where you're like, you probably have one major move left in you for a goalkeeper, but he's not going to get it. I don't know where he's going to end up, but it won't be anywhere big.
Let's go around the circle, and I'd rather not get into Wolves yet because a lot of the Hammers polls are based off of that match, so we're going to be discussing that later anyway. So let's talk about the Chelsea match. I'd like to hear all of your takes on what your man of the match was. So let's start with John and go clockwise. John, who's your man of the match on Saturday?
I mean, I have to go Cresswell just because I didn't know he could hit it with his right foot like that. I mean, to be honest, that was a striker's finish. That was a left back has no right to hit the ball that sweetly. And I mean, like, because my favorite part about the goal is actually Kurt Zouma, who just stands there with his hands behind his back. But we probably shouldn't talk about Chelsea being poor, which they were. But it was a phenomenal finish. But he also just had a good match.
David,
I've got to give it to David Martin, don't I? Man of the match.
Yeah,
I mean, he made a couple of very, very important saves. He played very well at the back, kept things organized. Was that the difference? No, but it was. I think it was one of those things that was so special for him, so special for the club. You got to give it to him, and yeah. I mean, Cressy's goal was smashing. I thought Declan Rice was absolutely on point the whole game. There was a good all-around team performance. But yeah, just there was something special for David Martin, so I'll give him the man of the match for that.
Charlie.
So full disclosure, I didn't watch the match live. I was at work, so I've only seen a lot of things and read as much as I can. I'm tempted to just say someone like, do you know what? I think Pellegrini deserves a lot of credit for just changing it. For actually, like you say, Tim, he's a stubborn guy. He just really is. And he should have changed it a long time ago. But not only did he change the lineup. Not only did he change the goalkeeper, but he also changed the tactics. Like, we were sitting a lot deeper than we usually do. I go on about the high line constantly because it's suicidally stupid at times, and yet he didn't. He changed it up. He did something different. But from a player standpoint, you've got to pick Martin. I mean, the whole narrative around the match is David Martin. Like, even if you watch the highlights package, it's David Martin crying on the floor. It's David Martin going to see his dad. Like, it's the whole thing. Like, it's his day. It's his game. Even if he never has another good match in a West Ham shirt, no one will forget that moment. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, definitely. Katie.
Cresswell. I mean, I think that goal was just absolutely unbelievable. There's no stopping that, no matter what keeper you are. I mean, he just put it right there in the corner pin, and it was just beautiful. I mean,
yeah, he had a great game overall as well. I mean, just watching him run around. I mean, he does that. He's really fucking deceptive, because even when he's not supposedly having a good game, he's always running and hustling. I mean, that's what I love to see. What Snodgrass does, but not many people talk about that when it comes down to Aaron Cresswell, because he just kind of fades. Even though he was really putting in a shift, though, but if the ball's not on that side, or if he doesn't have a attacker near him, I mean, how the fuck can you know? But he's always hustling. I give him that much.
Real quick, John said a great point in the chat where he said that Fredericks was amazing, and you got to give it to him. He was great. I know you love him, but also Declan Rice. I mean, was that the best game he's had this season? I mean,
Declan was phenomenal, man.
He bossed Chelsea, and all the stuff he said after that match has been very illuminating. So he really opened up, and it's, he said it was one of the best moments of his life, and I mean, that was a hell of a performance.
But that's why we won the game, because everyone was going after those 50-50 balls, and you specifically saw it with Rice. He was fighting through each situation and actually winning those, and that's what
Balbuena looked great. Balbuena looked great. Ogbonna looked great. I mean, they all looked great. It was insane.
I hate to. So, really interesting to me was I think it was Declan that said this. Have you guys heard about how Mark Noble pulled everyone aside before the match and basically gave a second team talk? You guys hear about that? So essentially, Declan said a lot of words which I can't repeat were said, but basically, Mark said, enough is enough. We're not losing this. You get out there and you fight. Everything that happens out there on the pitch, you fight. And so Mark gave this this Braveheart speech. And then I can't help but think that had something to do with the way they went out there and
I hope so. Yeah, I hope that's true. I mean, I really do. My issue with Fredericks, I always have issues with Fredericks, but let me tell you, it's kind of feeding off what you just said. I watched the game with Ken McGuire, who's usually in the chat room, and Lee, my co-host usually. We went up to Ken's house and we watched the match. And for the first half, I was pointing out, I'm like, did you just see Mark Noble screaming? Did you not read his lips? Ryan, like, make a fucking run or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, multiple times he's screaming at Ryan Fredericks. Oh, he had a great game. No, he didn't. He was getting fucking screamed at by his captain for not making fucking multiple runs that we could have probably been up even more in the first half. So, sorry, that's my Fredericks mini rant for the evening. I'm sorry that. I understand. Yes.
To be fair, one of those was a little bit of deflection. It was a pretty bad ball down the line.
Listen.
Yeah, no,
whatever.
Try to put it off on Fredericks one time.
Fuck Fredericks. Anyway, we need a new right back in the January. So we have our goalkeeper now.
You're buying someone in January?
I like the way you read my mind. That was my exact reaction.
Well,
you think David Sullivan's going to be like, oh, you're right?
I'm always half joking on this show. If you don't know by now, come on. If you watched my show before, I'm always half joking.
That's because you're West Ham fan.
The problem is I'm not really funny. So sorry.
You're all right at times. You're all right at times. I'll give you that at times.
I know, but I prefer to rant because they usually say that ranting is good television, right? Usually,
sure.
Whatever. So no, Fredericks had a fine second half. I'll give you that. All right, but Chelsea. Now let's play the devil's advocate here. Chelsea played a shit lineup. Yeah, which is kind of shocking. Why the fuck was Willian and Conte on the bench? Like that made no sense. Like when I saw them come on as subs, I'm like, wow, that should have, for on their side of things, if they started, it would have been a completely different match.
Yeah.
So what the fuck was that all about? Was Frank Lampard like feeling soft for West Ham and saying, you
So-
know what, I'll go soft on you guys, or what's the deal?
KUMB does this thing where they go to the opponent's forums and they post a bunch of stuff that they say the opposition view. So they did that for Chelsea today. And it was great because a lot of the Chelsea fans were furious. They said it was the worst managerial performance of Lampard's career so far, and that he underestimated West Ham. He basically thought West Ham were worse than anyone they had played, and so he could finally give Giroud a start, and he could finally give Pedro a start. And so they're really now they worship him like a deity, so they're not that mad, but they blame him for that. Yeah.
And they have a Champions League fixture on Wednesday, I believe, right? Is that right, Charlie? You know, anybody? Anybody know that? I think they do. I think that's the reason why they subbed a lot of guys. But
I mean, the thing is, Kante is less forgivable because you look at it and you say, actually, in that team, if he analysed our team beforehand and say, which one of those players is probably going to turn up in this game, you would say Noble, you would say Rice. Like, these are people directly where Kante would be. You don't want them running any sort of game. So Kante is an insane drop. I understand. I almost can justify playing Giroud because I think Giroud Batshuayi is sort of 50-50 on who's better at times. Probably Giroud would still probably be the guy who I would consider the better player out of the two. But that really is 6 of one, half dozen of another. People like that. Willian, I mean, it's not like the players they started were bad, but Kante was a weird one. When I saw the lineups, that was the one I was really confused by. But then again, let's not act like our team was not weird either. I was at work and I'm checking my phone, and then I saw our lineup and I legitimately had to do a double take because it's just weird. But sometimes these things happen. Lampard is a young manager; he will make mistakes.
Yeah, definitely.
It looked like a Slaven Bilic team, didn't it?
One of the things that I really have been taking away from all this is that everyone's like, finally Pellegrini has learned something. I was like, well, finally Pellegrini played a team that he mostly didn't buy. I mean, I thought that was really strange, and so he played all these British players, and then they got out there and they worked hard and they scraped together a win.
Yeah, but Fornell's kind of puzzled me though.
I like him, dude.
He was running around, but he wasn't doing anything productive. I mean, he was running around. He was zipping around.
What Snodgrass does.
Yeah.
I mean, what does Snodgrass apart from run around? Sorry, carry on.
Snodgrass did put in a couple tasty crosses.
There's that one. There's the one where he cuts in and puts it just basically in front of Antonio, who, if I'm honest, I didn't expect him to score because it's Mikel Antonio. But at the same time, like, you probably could have done that. Like, that ball was incredible. But at the same time, most of the time I watch Robert Snodgrass, he is just sort of running around like a headless chicken, not doing much. But I mean,
if you want to rant on something, I think Antonio had more opportunities that he needed to finish, and that was to our demise. Honestly, once we get up against better teams, he's got to finish those. He had gift.
Yeah. He's not a striker.
He's not.
That's the thing. So by himself,
right in front of the goalie, kicked it right to the goalie.
So would I, because I'm not a striker.
You were a goalie, and you were a shit goalie.
I was not a shit goalie.
I think Antonio would play really well off of someone like Allaire.
Yes. Because that was puzzling, right, David? I mean, watching the team sheet before the match, you're like, fucking first thing I saw, I didn't even see Martin over Roberto. My first thing I saw was Antonio up by himself. Like that. That's not going to last because he's going to be over in the fucking wing, which he was the whole game.
He was.
He was rarely in the box, like, where he was supposed to be, because nobody else around him was really doing anything. So he would create chances himself. He'd find himself over in the fucking left side, and no one's there in the box to pass to. And then the fucking would lose play. So listen,
that's how we deal with strikers. We think strikers. We're going to give you the ball. We're all going to hang back here.
So how the fuck does that get fixed? I hate when people say, yes, that's just West Ham, but like, seriously, John, like, what the fuck? I mean, how do you fix that?
Well, so
you don't just let that be. Oh, it's just West Ham.
No, he did. He put our most creative player behind him and said, I want you to play in the middle, in the hole behind him, and I want you to make chances, and I want you to connect the midfield and the striker, and that didn't happen.
Because
But also
he
because
tells
Antonio
Anderson not to go in the box.
Antonio
Anderson's
also has
not allowed to go in the box.
positional sense. Antonio has zero positional sense in his body. So, who knows where he's going to run. If the ball's there, he's going to chase it. He's like a greyhound, so, but he's also a phenomenal athlete, and at least he, gets out there and works. So.
So would you go? Okay, let's just go around again. Let's start with Katie this time. Would you make any changes going into the Wolves match in the lineup or the? I mean, obviously he's not going to change the formation. He may stick with the same tactics which were changed. See, I'm still upset about that. Like that's what Charlie was mentioning earlier was that he made a lot of changes, and he did make some changes, but he didn't make the one big change that I was most aggravated with. I mean, yes. Charlie's, pissed off with the high line, and yes, I'm happy that he changed that. Thank you, but not the format, dude. Fucking one lone striker. We don't have anybody on this squad that can play up top by themselves.
I think we do. I'll talk about it in a sec, but
all right, fine. Katie, would you make any changes going
into? I definitely don't want Antonio there for sure. I don't know who you would put up there, so I would like to hear what you guys think. But I like the lineup the way it was. I thought we did well. We hustled. They communicated. We haven't seen that in the past couple weeks, so I like it.
Cool, Charlie.
So I think both Antonio has played up front before against Chelsea for us in other games and won it, and I think in a game like Chelsea or against another big team, I think you can get away with him because of his work rate, his attacking work rate specifically. And I think you can get away with it because with that Snodgrass Crosby both just mentioned, he makes those runs where other people don't necessarily do it. And part of it pisses me off because I know he's not necessarily doing it on purpose, but they're super good. Like the way he comes in, he bends into the perfect position for someone, just put the ball on his head, he will at least get it sort of in the vicinity of the goal. He will get his head on it, he will batter anyone. I think Haller can play up front by himself, but the thing is he needs the rest of the team to be working in tandem with that. And that's part of the problem is when he plays up front, we play him. It's sort of almost Sam Allardyce, Andy Carroll in that he's just stood there by himself and no one is even in the same postcode as he is. And he's just complete. We can hit him. He will control it down. And then what's he going to do with it? Okay, nothing. That's why you see Antonio drifting wide. That's why you see other strikers drifting wide, because at least there's someone relatively close to that. You can play higher up front by himself. It just requires us to approach the game differently than we do. And we don't. We've already said it, Pellegrini's too stubborn to really change that.
David?
I'd like to see him play the 4-2-2-2. He used to play at Manchester City a lot. I think Antonio and Haller up top as a 2. Then, you sort of take your pick, Anderson and, Yarmolenko is your creative midfield 2. Rice and Noble is the deep sitting 2. And then 4 across the back. You want mobile backs, so you want Fredericks and I'd probably go Cresswell over Masuaku. But I think that would be a good formation for us right now.
Sean?
I think we found a way to win. I don't think we need to do major surgery when we've just rediscovered some form. However, I think it's crazy to continue to not play Haller. For one thing, just on a man management basis, I think it's very dangerous to bring in someone of his caliber, basically say, you're going to be our star. We moved heaven and earth to get you. Oh yeah, by the way, you've had a rough couple games where we've all been terrible and you didn't win games single-handedly, so we're going to bench you and put this guy that just came back. Okay, so from a man management perspective, I think we need to be careful with that so that we don't alienate a player that we spend a lot of money on. And he's a very, very good player. So I think he needs to come back into the side, but I actually don't think Antonio needs to go to the bench in order to make way for him. I think what we need to do is we need to probably take Snodgrass out. You put Fornals in there in the middle. That may sound lightweight, but we just talked about how what Fornals does is move. He runs, he presses. And so we've got Declan behind him and Mark, who just passes the ball. Mark's never gonna. He's like the anti-contact. So I think then you can have some flexibility. You move Antonio out to the wing, we can still maintain a similar formation.
Well, heading into Wolves,
I think
Wolves play a 3-4-3, or they play a 5-2-3 or something along those lines with the wing backs occasionally. But this last match that they played, they didn't play that well, but they played a 3-4-3. That's kind of fucks us a little bit with one striker, no?
Depends. It depends what your wingers do. If your wingers are on point and running at the other centre backs, then you can sort of get your striker to have enough space to sort of do stuff. You don't just want one guy isolated up against three centre backs, even if it's Antonio and you're hitting long balls to him, because that's just not going to work. The problem is as well with Wolves is they sit deeper and are much more open to counter-attacking football than say Chelsea are, and that would absolutely destroy us. You would need to play. Unless your wingers are proper on it and proper going at them, you do need to play some system where the thing that made this was something I said in Hammer's chat a couple of weeks ago, and Gio sort of gave me mild flack for it. But the thing that made Kevin Nolan work and was so effective for us is because he had Andy Carroll near him, right? He would just hang out with that guy. The ball would come to him, and any second ball, he's there constantly, every single time. It's just what he did. So you look at Haller and you say, okay, let's go back to those tactics, but Anderson, Lanzini, Fornals, these are all people who are capable of playing a sort of Kevin Nolan-esque role in that system. You can have it be, because under Allardyce, we were playing a 4-5-1, but Kevin Nolan, when it was time to get out of those situations, was all up in that grill. And so you need someone to work in tandem with a single person up top, which he probably will play, in order to do anything against the three-man defence. But Wolves is just a bad opposition for us in general, to be honest.
Yeah, be honest, yeah. So a lot of people are saying that, Allaire, in the chat room anyway, are saying that Allaire can play up top again. And like you guys just said, that as long as he has the right type of structure around him. But thinking about it, I'm like, number one, will he bench Antonio? I mean, will Pellegrini bench Antonio after having a good game from that position? I mean, basically, will he shake out that formation? And if he does, obviously, will he keep Antonio on the team sheet? Maybe put him over on one of the wings? Because honestly, I can't think of any attacking midfield combination that will work well against Wolves' formation with a. I don't know. I mean, Antonio maybe, but Yarmolenko's not fast whatsoever. He's technical, great on a counter. He's got great vision. He can pass the ball. He's got laser shots and passes and stuff like that. But Anderson's afraid of everybody. Fornals is afraid to make contact with anybody. Watching Fornals zip around, that's the one thing I just remember that I remember constantly seeing and bringing up to Lee and Ken when we were watching the match together, was every time Fornals would run up to somebody, he would stop. Like he was afraid of making contact. And same thing when someone was coming at him when he had the ball, he'd kind of like almost flinch. Almost. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's just his first year in the league. He's used to La Liga where, you fucking get 5 feet from somebody, they fall. I don't know. You need to toughen up a bit.
I think he's still feeling it out and getting settled in. And he's a very young lad too. You got to remember. I think we need to give him that time to settle in. I wonder, Sorry, going back to Allaire, I wonder if there's been some drama behind the scenes with him. Maybe that's why he had to sit out the game. Because he's been very frustrated. You can tell by his body language and the way he's reacted in the last few matches that he's felt isolated and he's very very frustrated. So I wonder if he's had a few cross words with the manager and that sort of resulted in him having a seat for a while.
We're gonna have another China saga in our hands.
I
you're saying? So let's start with Katie and go around. What pairing or combination would you see best around Allaire going into Wolves? like which wingers and what attacking mid, I guess, because he's not going to change the formation. But
yeah, I would put Masuaku out on the wing. I like him better there. I definitely think that we should keep Yarmolenko and Cresswell. I just think that formation works better.
Right on, Charlie.
Masuaku's interesting.
Because I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I like when he came on to sort of. It's useful him coming on because he can sort of shore it up a little bit because he is a defender. Despite everything he does, he sort of has that in him. So it's useful for him to come on. So I don't know whether I would be I'm tempted to start him, but I don't know whether I would just because it almost feels redundant down that left side having two people who do the exact same thing. But it's interesting, and he has dribbling, and he can take it on. And in a game where there will be some space in that realm of the pitch because they play free at the back, is actually quite an interesting thing that I haven't really thought about until that second time. I don't know whether I heard earlier on our preview, Gio mentioned that Antonio has some sort of knock. Whether that is enough to keep him out of the game or not, a strain or something, which makes sense. He's just come back from injury. He runs himself into the ground every time he's on that pitch. So it sort of makes sense. So whether he's fit enough to start is another question. However, if he is fit enough to start, he obviously has to start, and there's just no other options there. It just has to exist. So for me, it would probably actually be you'd have to start Haller for me, and you put Antonio on the right, and then you put Anderson on the left. That would be my decision.
Sorry, David.
So, well, are we assuming that we're playing a 4-2-3-1?
I mean, he's not going to change the formation. You know that. I wish he'd play the 4-2-2-2. Trust me. But he's an asshole. He's a real prick.
I'll cheat.
He's stuck in his ways.
I'll cheat and do both. How about that?
All right, fine.
All right.
What you'd like to see and what you think's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I would leave the back four as is. So, Cressy, Ogbonna, Balbuena, and Ryan Fredericks on the right. Midfield stays unchanged too. The defensive midfield, I think, Snobes and Declan. I would be interested to see what would happen if he's going to play a 4-2-3-1. If he plays Haller up top, Masuaku on the left, the lazy Brazilian in the middle, and then if Antonio's fit, Antonio on the right. If Antonio's not fit, I would go Yarmolenko on the right. But if it's Antonio, I would give him and Anderson a bit of a free role, where Antonio's free to push up top, where you can almost push into a 4-2-2-2, and let Anderson sort of marshal the rest of the the right side of the pitch. I think that could be quite nasty.
Yeah. So you have your other option, or is that both?
That's my vote.
Yeah,
that's how you cheat and make a 4-2-3-1 a 4-2-2-2.
Gotcha. John, what do you say?
Like I said, I think we finally discovered some form. I'm hesitant to make any massive changes.
Well, say Antonio's not fit then. I mean, because there's a good chance.
Well, no. I think so. We also need to consider he's been injured for a long time. He's just come back and played that match with that energy. He may need a rest. It's a Wednesday match, right? So, he's probably going to need a rest.
And the next match is Monday.
What's that?
I mean? And then the following match is Monday.
Yeah. So, I mean, we very likely may not see him. No one's talked to. Everyone said, just assumed we're going to keep the same defense. I think they'll bring Diop back.
I was just going to bring that up as soon as you finish speaking. That's so funny.
They're going to bring Diop back. He's had a rough time lately, but I think he's missed Ogbonna beside of him. I really think he's missed. I never would have thought I'd say this last year, or especially at the end of Village, Ogbonna's calming presence. But I think that they've kind of formed this beautiful partnership. In a way that Balbuena did, but I feel like Balbuena is either lost, whatever kind of certainty he had, or I'm not sure exactly what's going on. But I mean, he played a good game this weekend, but I think they'll bring Diop back, and I'd keep Diop and then Ogbonna together.
So let's go backwards real quick and it's just yes or no. You think does Diop come back in the lineup, David? Yes or no?
For me, no.
No.
Yeah. Will he? Maybe. but for me, no. You stick with what worked.
Yeah.
Charlie. What we had last week worked.
Yeah. Charlie.
Yeah, again, with the caveat that I didn't watch the full thing. No, I don't think you can. I think if he gets left out, he understands that. Look, you kept a clean sheet against Chelsea. You can't really justify yourself just walking straight back into that side, no matter how good you are.
Gotcha, Katie.
No.
Yeah. I honestly, yeah, I would agree with Charlie, Katie there, and especially when it comes down to not just what works, but I've been waiting for this Diop and this Ogbonna and Balbuena partnership, that they kept saying couldn't happen because of the language barrier with Roberto and blah, 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 blah. And I don't know. I think it works. I think it really does. Two adults who have experience, at the highest level. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Ligue 1 is not really the highest level in my eyes. And he's still young. He's learning, and you can't, just like anybody else on the squad who's young, I would never play them, 38 matches a season. You know what I mean? Like they need some breaks and they need some rest here and there. And what they tried to do with Diop, looks like, was automatically have Diop in the team sheet. Boom. And last season even, I thought they played him a little too much. There was a lot of games where he showed a lot of rust and he needed a break. And again, stubborn ass Pellegrini chose not to do that. So anyway, let's pull up some hammers. Polls. Let me just take this off real quick. We have time for a few hammers polls, and we're going to get all of our opinions on it. Let's see. Oh, that's my messages. Just kidding. I had it set up.
I was going to say, Tim, you don't want to expose all the times I've slid into your DMs. So I didn't want that on public on block.
I know. Those pictures back and forth, man. I mean, Charlie. All right. Well, it looks like fucking Lee answered them all. Awesome. Let me, Lee also has talks on our Twitter. So if you get a message from American Hammers TV, at American Hammer 3, you might not be talking to me. So you'll be talking to Lee, especially if he's talking about 1970s football helmets and American football helmets and stuff like that. He seems to follow a lot of those. Shit, where am I? Fucking hey, dude. Well, you know what? I don't know what the fuck happened.
You got this, Tim. I believe in you. You can figure this one out.
Yeah. I don't. There we go. Search. There's my kids. Hi, kids. God, I'm tired.
That was a load of crap, by the way.
Leo Newman?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, quickly, we'll go through this one. Just a quick yes or no, because we've pretty much touched on it, but not everyone's given an answer on Fornals. You guys seeing this? Am I tripping? Yeah? No?
Yeah, I see it.
All right. So thoughts on Fornals against Chelsea, and does he start against Wolves? Fuck the thoughts. Just does he start against Wolves, Fornals? Yes or no?
Yes.
No.
No.
No?
No, but only because Antonio has to start.
All right. Well, 20% say no. That's out of 247 votes. Poll has been up for 13 hours. 80% said yes. Wow. That's impressive.
He's a super good player who has a lot to offer, but it's just a fact of finding the space for him. And that's just not something we can do right now when we're in such bad form.
Yeah.
Except that he played against Chelsea and they won.
Exactly. It's I don't know. It just depends, man. I think it really depends on who's starting up top, if Antonio's fit.
But Charlie's right. I mean, we can't carry a player. And we have been carrying some players lately.
But the next question is from our good friends over at Green Street Hammers. Check out their podcast, and also they do a lot of great write-ups. Not quite the midway mark, but who's your hammer of the year so far? The choices are Rice, Ogbonna, Cresswell, or other. and give you a choice. Let's go backwards, Katie.
Oh, Rice. You know, he's my favorite. He's a hustler. He works hard. To me, he's the hammer of the year.
So far, awesome. I think that might continue, actually. He was my vote for last year. Anyway, Charlie.
Ogbonna, far and away Ogbonna for me. No one else has been anywhere near as consistent as he has, in my opinion.
I haven't really noticed. I haven't really looked too deep into that. I wouldn't disagree with you, I guess. What I have noticed about Ogbonna, he's been steady. But again, just like Cresswell, he's in my visual, you know, he has flown under the radar a little bit. David.
So far this year, I'll give it to the tea lady, closely followed by Ogbonna. He's been the best of a bad bunch so far, I think. It's difficult to vote at this point, but so far, Ogbonna.
John.
I think Rice, and I think it's because this is the year where he is transforming before our eyes from a young kid with promise to what I think is going to be one of the best players in the Premier League. And what would we do without him? You could replace almost anybody on our team, and we'd probably play as poorly. But without Rice, I don't know. There's no one that steps up and takes his place. So I think Rice is easily it.
Someone said Gary's an asshole. He said Roberto.
But Fabianski, I was gonna say you could make a case for him, and then he got hurt because I mean, like, look what happened. It's been pretty stark.
Yeah. Except Man City, and don't give me the same shit about that's a wash because everybody's gonna get smashed against Man City. Because no, not everybody gets smashed against Man City. Actually, some teams beat Man City. So why couldn't that have been us?
I love how you couldn't resist that. I'm so happy. I saw it. The second Fabianski came up, I could just see it.
Dying to say that. Anyway,
it was his fault. So we don't play with a midfield.
Everybody always says, "Oh, it's not Fabianski's fault." I love that too, John. I love you, man. So it's split. We got 2 for Rice, 2 for Ogbonna, and I'm gonna have to say Rice only for the fact that I've been paying more attention to what he's doing because you know that's our future, hopefully future leader, you know, our future captain, hopefully future legend that we build a stand after and everything else. Probably not likely. Probably end up getting his statue outside of Old Trafford at some point. But anyway, I'll say Rice just for shits and giggles, and it looks like wow, Ogbonna, Charlie, you were on it, man. And same thing with David there. So Ogbonna, 55%, and that's out of 438 votes. That's usually that's a decent sized vote there.
He's been great.
8% said Cresswell, and 5% said other. But no, a lot of people.
What were the comments on the other?
Jesus, let's see. Oh, I don't want to make a fucking comment. Jeez.
Shit, Paul.
Shut up. I'm not fucking. Antonio. There we go. Oh, there's Antonio. Yay. I'll never forget that. That's awesome.
They got to make a statue outside the ground.
Prick, said Ryan Fredericks. Wow. Sorry, Tony. Frederick says so much. Oh my God. Martin. Yeah, man. Kevin Hart. There you go. Someone's Augie, but that's the fucking thing. The commenting. All right, Snotty always works hard. Yeah, McMessy. Blah 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 blah. Martin. It looks like it's a 3-way split between or for the other McMessy and David Martin and Antonio. I'm not gonna mention Fredericks in that. Sorry. So. Yeah, he's not good enough in my eyes.
I don't think he's been good enough, but I do think he's been quite good this year. I think we need a right back quite desperately. I think we need a right back quite desperately, but I look at him and I go, oh, he's been all right.
Yeah, well, he's had his moments. So yeah, absolutely. You know, same thing with Antonio last year. He had his moments, you know, but they're both, you know, my most frustrating players because they're so fucking inconsistent. Like they'll pull 1 or 2 magnificent either goals or magnificent passes out of their ass, but for the most part they're doing jack shit. They're passing to the other team. They're making fucking shit shots in the fucking in the fucking stars or whatever they're doing. But for the most part, but it's always those little things that they do right that everybody just focuses on and forgets about all the bullshit. And they're like that. They love Antonio and they love Fredericks. And I said even last summer that we should have sold fucking Antonio because he's getting like fucking 47 years old this upcoming season.
Tell us how you really feel, Tony.
Sorry. So anyway, on a recent Hammers Chat video with looks like Gio and Nikki from West Ham Fan TV, Gio asked this of Anderson: does Anderson play better when West Ham are winning, or does West Ham win when Anderson is playing better? So I guess A or B. Let's start with John and go clockwise.
I'm gonna go with A, because if we don't play to his strengths and if we don't show him options and we don't give him places where he can move the ball, he's not the old-fashioned 1990s winger that just bombs down the touchline or down the side of the pitch and then puts a cross in. That's not what he does. So he needs people on his wavelength, and if we're not on it, he gets frustrated and plays worse.
David?
The answer is yes. There's been times when Anderson's been the difference, and there's been times when I think the team performance has lifted his game. But yeah, I don't think there's a cause and effect relationship there. It's just yes.
Okay, fair enough. Charlie.
First of all, if anyone wants to see that was the latest episode of Talk West Ham. Check it out. Anyway, so I think it was we win when Anderson is playing better. If I'm being honest, like I get it, and I think David's probably correct. Like ultimately, in the way football works, but the way we can't break teams down when Anderson is up for it, he can break any team down, but just without even thinking about it. And that is a difference maker. That's a huge thing for us. It's almost not good that we have to rely so heavily on someone like that. But for me, I would say B.
All right, Katie.
Interesting, because I definitely think it's A. I think he plays better when we're all together playing better. So it's interesting to see those other perspectives.
We have two A's, and we have a B, and we have a neutral. Yeah, that's tough. I like Charlie and David. I tend to. It's tough to pinpoint, man. I mean, if someone put a gun to my head, I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think part of the issue is that even when he's playing poorly, right, he still can provide the key pass that leads to our only goal in a match. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, he still can show up and do things that no one else can do in claret and blue. So
he had two nasty nutmegs yesterday. I mean, sorry, Saturday. Jesus Christ, yesterday. What the fuck am I talking about?
If nutmegs were goals, he would win the Ballon d'Or himself. But they're not.
I'm telling you, wouldn't he? Yeah,
I mean, like so he's amazing at it.
I'll just say A. Ooh, that's fucking close, man. Mm-hmm. 267 votes. 51% said.
You can make a case either way. You really can.
Exactly.
I guess the answer is yes.
It's so the poll's only been up. Yeah, exactly. The poll's only been up for 7 hours. It has a whole day left. So if anybody watching this, even after the fact, if it's not live, you feel free to head on over to Hammers Polls on Twitter and give them a follow and voice your opinion. And also, if you would like to create a poll for them to post, just message them. They love that. And there's Hammers Polls merch in our store. So head on over to ahtv.threadless.com and there's a lot of cool stuff in there. So anyway, this is going to be the last one that we're going to do. Should Pellegrini take the FA Cup seriously this year and play a full-strength team against Gillingham? Let's start with Katie and go backwards.
Yes, I think he should.
Charlie.
I think it's probably a bit misnomer, and I think you can take it seriously while playing someone like Nathan Holland. But yes, we're not points-wise. We're not so far off the top where we should be that we shouldn't batter Gillingham.
David.
Yes, he should take it seriously. Yes, he should play a strong squad. 100%, perhaps not. I think the competition is a good time to give one or two of your stronger youth an opportunity to play in the first team. But I wouldn't go for the wholesale changes that we've seen in the past.
John.
Yes, of course. I mean, I think, like everyone else has said, this is a perfect time to bring in a promising person from the youth side who's been doing very well, like Holland. Maybe bring the young goalkeeper up if we're looking for an alternative to David Martin. If David Martin has a nightmare the next game, we need an alternative, and Roberto, like we've already discussed ad nauseum, is shot at this point. So, but if you're West Ham United, the FA Cup is probably our only shot of winning a trophy anytime soon. And if you're a football supporter, don't you want to win a trophy? So we've done it before.
So I was watching. I kept hearing Anang or whatever his name is, the goalkeeper down there in the under 23s. I kept hearing his name popping up. Saw it on Twitter. I get really excited because I love the prospect of bringing up somebody as a backup to David Martin. That's not Roberto. That's from our academy. As a just in case, not to really get a start or anything like that, because I've said this before. I don't want us to recall Nathan Trott, even if Fabianski had a injury within his rehab and said, you know what, I'm out for the season, I'm not coming back, right? For example, and we need something for the remainder of the season. I wouldn't say a lot of fans are calling for Trott to come back, and in my opinion would be hell no. Keep him down there in League One, because you bring him up, he has they say he has a shit performance. The fucking fans would destroy him. His confidence would be fucked, and he's not 33 years old like a David Martin, who I think could handle something like that. You know what I mean? He's young, and I wouldn't want him to, fall by the wayside because he fucking had a bad match type of deal. Not yet. He's not ready. So fuck off with the Trot shit. Anyway, so what was the question again? FA Cup, seriously? Yeah, we should definitely take it seriously. Charlie, you're right. The question's kind of framed a little weird. They should take it seriously no matter what, period.
I also think if you look at any of the teams, when we've gone out horrendously to the teams previously, if you look at those squads and say that our team wasn't good enough to beat those teams, I mean, you're just lying to yourself. They 100% were. It's just it's an attitude thing. It's a performance thing. It's like, yes, of course, we should put the players out there to beat them, but we've done that, and they've not turned up, and there's someone who, well, there's a couple.
You're right.
We need to take.
It's just a matter of what happened was, in my opinion, is that they put such a mixed squad where the players really aren't used to playing with each other on a regular basis. Like they had the talent on paper. You're right. Like I think it was Wimbledon. Didn't we have like Arnautovic out there, or was it Wigan? We had Arnautovic. I mean, we had some big names in those last few matches. Not the Oxford one, but the few before that even. There was some big names on the team sheet mixed in with players that they don't play with or in regular matches at a competitive pace on a regular basis. Training is one thing, but if you're not playing in the same game together, I mean, it's like fucking bringing I don't know, it's just a whole brand new squad together pretty much and saying, here, go play. You guys are great. You'll do fine.
But this gets to another point that I have with Pellegrini, and my biggest criticism of Slaven Bilic, whom I loved, all loved, right? But we had no style of play. And when we got Pellegrini, we all thought, thank God, we've got a person who knows how the game is supposed to be played. We're going to have a style of play. Everyone's going to know what to do, top to bottom, up and down. This club will know how we play football again. And maybe we had that briefly, but we've lost it. And to me, that's a damning indictment of Pellegrini and his management. And it shows when you have moments like what you're talking about, where you put together a piecemeal squad together, and they should still know how we all play and where you're supposed to be on the pitch, and they're professionals, even if they're young. Yeah. But instead, no one knows what to do. No one has any idea what's going on. And then as soon as any adversity hits them in the face, we just buckle and wilt. And we don't know how to do the automatic, this is our system thing that will get you through that. And so that to me is the biggest issue we have under Pellegrini. And it was exactly what we did under Bilic. Pretty much we just waited for Payet to put the ball right here on someone's head, or just in from 30 yards. So
Yeah.
He's doing good in the championship, though, isn't he?
Yeah, that's true. For everybody in the chat room, get ready to drink. The reason why I hate Bilic, I've said it a million times, is it's because he sold my personal favorite player of all, the West Ham player of all time. So John, you were a goalkeeper in the past. The only game and a half I've played of football in my life, defender, and I always gravitated towards defense and defenders. So the Academy star, aka James Tompkins, fucking prick face Bilic sold him. Sold him for a good chunk of money, though. I got to admit, $12.5 million. That's a big chunk of change. But I'll never, ever, ever forgive that Evertonian cunt for that. So yeah, fuck him. And he always played all my players out of position.
Well, that was that was so weird.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. Let's not act like Antonio's best period wasn't when he was playing right back. Let's get that a little bit straight. The only time he's ever been 100% consistent was when he was playing right back. But yeah, I just want to say this very quickly because I can't stress how much I think John is right. Like I said, I was talking to people after the game, the last home game, and I was saying, how often is it when we get to the edge of the area, do players take about 3 or 4 touches and about 5 to 10 seconds to pass the ball left or right? That should be ingrained. When you think about the best managers, when you hear them talk, they talk about muscle memory. When the players get the ball, they know exactly where they're going. The thing I loved about Cresswell's goal, Cresswell was already bombing forward before Fornals had even touched the ball. He was going, he was dying into that area. He knew what he was going to do with it. Everyone knew what was going on. How often is it where we get to the edge of the area and everyone's like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to do with the ball now? Is someone, no, maybe not. And that shouldn't be the case. With a manager who has won the Premier League, is this huge name manager, is on huge bucks. The players should have it drilled into them, no matter if they start every game or not. They should come into that side and know exactly what they're doing. You look at the best sides, look at Wolves, right? Wolves have a very small squad, but when someone comes into that team, they know their role, they know exactly what they're doing, they know everything about it. And we just don't do that. We're slow, we're dithering, and they just have no clue half the time. And it's a huge indictment. John, you're 100% bang on, not to blow smoke too far, but I'm just saying.
And so and we got to get it, Tim, one more time, because maybe what this actually is maybe Fredericks is uncertain about what to do. So he doesn't know if he should bomb forward or if he should hold back and defend. And it's that uncertainty that is affecting his game, because he would know and he would just do a shit job if he was bad, right?
Or maybe just specifically to get under Tim's nose, Fredericks is so good that he's got so many ideas in his head, he's not 100% sure which one to fully go with. And, sometimes these things happen, Sometimes these things happen.
But this is why Pochettino was such an amazing manager, because everyone in Spurs knew what they were supposed to be doing every second that they were on the football pitch.
All right. Well, listen, it's about time to wrap it up. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to give each of you the floor for 60 seconds to either rant about something, talk about something, or you only got a minute to do it each, or plug something if you have something to plug. So I mixed it all up in there. So let's start with John. Get a minute, buddy.
I really feel like we're at a crossroads, because we've been claiming to be a club on the up for a long time, when really we haven't been. This was supposed to be our managerial appointment that got us to that next level, and now fans use the term next level to berate our own club. And we need to let go of that, number one, because it's all marketing and we've been sold something that doesn't mean anything. So we need to just get rid of that. But then as a club, we have to decide, Pellegrini has not done what we thought. Whether or not he has a stretch of matches where he's okay, which, by the way, I think we'll lose to Wolves. I really do. I can't see us beating them. But we need to decide who we're going to be after this, and we need to move decisively to set that in place. Like I said, I can't see Pellegrini surviving this season now. So this next appointment and how we set up our football club, we've already shown we're willing to have a director of football. We have to give that director of football power. We have to give the new manager power. We have to let them implement a style top to bottom. and finally fix the rot that has been the problem at this club for a long, long time, that is getting directly to what we are talking about right now.
Well, 76 is close enough. But you're right, though. I agree with you. David?
Just to sort of piggyback on what John was saying, I guess to sort of carry on from that, I think the problem actually lies, a large part of the problem lies with our director of football. If you look at the purchases that Stelios has made since coming to the club, on the balance, we're not really getting very good value for money, and we've sunk quite a lot of money into those players. So I think he needs to go. I don't think Pellegrini's going anywhere right now. I think we'll probably limp along through the season. Because I don't think Sullivan and Gold are very eager to get rid of the guy. It's going to cost them money to do that. But I mean, I just mentioned the two names that sort of are the heart of a lot of our problems. It's the board's spending and our recruitment over the last several years has been substandard. A few 30,
30 years.
Yeah. No, we just really, we're not recruiting smart enough. When there does need to be money spent, we're not spending that money. It's just that we're just like $1 short every time.
Yeah. I agree with you quite a bit. And there's been some talk about Hughes Loss getting the axe at the end of the season. I don't see Pellegrini getting the axe anytime soon. I wish it happened 5 weeks ago. But it's just because kind of what you were describing, it reminds me of last season. And same thing with John. It reminds me of last season. It's the same old shit. I mean, since we came back in the Premier League, our fucking results at the finish line have been the fucking same, up or down, like a couple of spots, like literally, nothing has changed. We were sold a fucking lie, and everybody knows it. We didn't know at the time. A lot of us, there's some of us who say, "Oh no, I don't want to move anyway." And then there's, the truthful ones who were told, like me, I bought into it because yes, bigger stadium, you think bigger revenue, which means better signings and more money to go around, so we can fire away into Europe just like all these other clubs. But we didn't know what the fuck we were thinking. So anyway, that just sucks. So anyway, nothing's changed. And last season was the most stressful season. It's a lot like this season, just in less stretch. I mean, it was like chop. It was more choppy. It was more up and down that way. This season, that fucking 8 games, man, there's no excuses for that. I mean, if it was Brazil, he would have been gone like fucking 3 matches ago. You lose 5, you're gone. Anyway,
who knows? We might never lose another game again this season.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, and then I'll still be Pellegrini. I don't give a shit. He's fucking ancient. So Charlie, whatever. Try to make it a minute, but you don't have to, I guess, because.
I mean, yeah. So first of all, Hammers_chat on Twitter, Hammers Chat on YouTube. Subscribe to us. Come say hello. A lot of the people in the chat already subscribe to us and talk to us, and I see them in chat all the time, and I love talking to them all the time, and all of that. But let's talk about the problem at the club, which is the true problem at the club, which everyone is denying, and that's the fact that Jordan Hugill is still out on loan. He's not up front for us. We've got a guy sat there, 20 goal a season striker. I'm telling you now, but no one is talking about it. Everyone's like, Antonio, it doesn't matter, bro. We've got the guy, but he's just out. He's doing bits somewhere else. It's an absolute disgrace. And until he comes back, we're going to be doomed to mediocrity or less, because we don't have Jords. We don't have big Jords, and it's just a disgrace. If I'm being perfectly honest, it's an utter disgrace.
Let me ask you, have you gone down to see him?
Oh, in my dreams every day, bro. just thinking about it, daydreaming, night dream.
No, seriously, have you not gone to like a QBR match at all? Or have you not thought about it?
That involves taking one tube train. I've not got the effort to do that. Come on now.
I'm shocked. I thought you'd be down there with the poster and with a. Can you sign this for me?
In a couple of weeks, I'm working at Stamford Bridge, so I might just. that's close enough. I might go and have a little walk around, have a little scream, George, like that, see if he replies.
All right,
That
brother.
really good kid too. What's his name? Easy or whatever.
Oh yeah, he looks very good. I was
Yeah, I know we're linked with him, and I really want to buy him so I can call him Easy E. So,
Yeah, brother. Yeah. Katie,
heard it
you're
here
gonna,
first.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, we can't change the coaching and the managerial style at this point, but what the players can do is two things: continue to play with heart and win those 50-50 balls, and they need to start playing to feet. When they play to feet, they perform so much better. We move down the field more efficiently, and also that first touch. When they're collecting the ball properly, they're not running into as many issues as we have the past couple weeks. So I think going back to the basics and doing those, three things. I know I said two, but now it's three. I think that's what's going to help us win. And we're here now. This is all we can do.
Yeah. I already said what I thought, so I guess we're good to go. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody in the chat room. I really do. Love seeing you guys all the time. And tonight, I guess everybody was doing nothing. So we'll see you all in there right now. Sorry, Neil. We try to get you in there. I'll definitely get you on another show, maybe with some of our Brits that are in there too. So thank you, Neil, for trying, and thank you, Wally, for being there, and Charlie Boy, man, I tried getting you in tonight, but you didn't ask me back. So what the fuck? Anyway, it was really good to have you guys. Hey, he ghosted me. I mean, he's in the chat room chatting away, and I sent him a message saying, hey, you want to come on and join us? And he didn't. So thanks. Anyway, I'd like to thank Katie. I'd like to thank Charlie and John. I really appreciate you guys coming in tonight. I had a blast. I hope you guys had fun. I know we had some technical difficulties, but that just makes it more fun. And I'm half asleep just because there's a lot of snow here, and it's stuck anyway. Palm trees and sunshine. All right, so tomorrow night is nothing. Oh, wait, tomorrow night, what do we got? I don't know. I think there's going to be a fixture focus with the Wolves fan. So hopefully that works out. And I know for a fact that Wednesday is the OG debate with Wayne and Lee and I. And it is usually fixture focus, but I think there actually might be a fixture focus Thursday night with an Arsenal fan. And then what else? We got for sure we have what's his name? Kevin from the Columbus E13 who makes these cool hats. And we have was it Jason Schechter from Queen City Hammers. So that'll be cool. And possibly Chaz from Baltimore. That'll be cool. Friday, anyway,
look how much cooler his hat is than mine. This is from the club, by the way, and it's red. And check out his. I'm trying to do my weatherman thing. Where am I? Yeah, look at that. That's gorgeous.
You know what my favorite part is?
Rub it in.
Is this?
That's nice.
I love that castle. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this shirt. Anyway. There you go. Oh, that's one of those. All right, cool. So anyway, everybody have a great night, and I'll talk to you off the air real quick.
All right.
Ta-da.
That's great.